Hi, I'm Andrea and welcome to Productive C Sharp. In this video, I'm going to show my solutions of day one of Advent of Code 2021. So if you don't know about Advent of Code, it's basically a series of challenges during December, and this is being made by Eric Wussel. It's very popular on the internet for programmers. Every day there are two programming exercises to solve, and you can use any programming language you want. Of course, we're going to use C Sharp today. All right, let's jump into the exercise. I'm not going to read all the tests of the problem. You can easily go to adventofcode.com and check it out. But I'll try to every time explain the problem, on the essence. So the problem here is fairly simple. The first one, we have a list of numbers. Each of these numbers represent depth of a submarine. It's really not that important for solving the problem. What you need to do is to check to count the number of times a depth measurement increases from the previous measurement. That's it. So here I have 208. 208 is greater than 200, that is the previous number, and then this counts as one increase. And we just need to count the number of increases. And that's the output of the first exercise. Let me switch to Visual Studio and show you the solution. The way I like to structure the Visual Studio solution is basically having a C# file for each day. I already created all the next days, even if I haven't yet, solved them. And there is a file where it contains all the data, the input of the problem. And you can see here I have actually copy and pasted all the input. Then this is it's a simple class library, and I have a text fixture for each day. In the setup, I do the usual load of the data and parsing. And then I have two tests, one for each part of the problem. Okay, so here I have a day1.txt series of numbers. I'm just simply using file read all lines to get all the lines, and then I parse the string to an integer and getting into a list. So here I have a list of all the depths from the problem. So let's have a look at part one. So the solution is fairly obvious. You just do a for loop. You start from position 1, and then every time I check the current position depth and I compare it to the previous depth, and if that's greater than the previous one, I increase the result. And then I assert that the result is equals to 1676. That is the solution of the problem. Okay, let's move on to the part 2 of the problem. Now, the problem is similar, but now instead of considering just one depth compared to the previous one, you need to compare the three measurement sliding windows with the previous sliding windows. So you can see here we have 199, 200, and 208. This is basically three numbers that are made of the window. Then we have another window that is 200, 208, and 210. That is the window B. So if you compare Windows B to Windows A, you need to sum all the three numbers and the other numbers and compare them. So it's kind of the same, but you need to do the sum of three numbers before comparing. So what you need to do is to count the number of times the sum of measurements in the sliding window increases. Okay? And there is an example there. What I tend to do when I do the exercises, before actually using the large input, I tend to actually copy and paste the small input here. That is a very smaller example. So it helps you to actually figure out the problem before actually using the real input. Okay, so let's see how I did it today. So in part 2, you can imagine, fairly straightforward. Same for loop, but now we start from position 3, because I need to go back to the previous three measurements every single time. So first I do the sum of the current, the previous, and two position before. So this is basically the sum of the current sliding windows. And I compare that to the sum of the previous sliding windows, that is I-1, I-2, and I-3. And then I simply increase the result. So kind of the same solution, but I'm doing the sum every time of the measurements. Okay, so this was a fairly simple problem. Usually the day one is fairly easy. It should just help you to get started and understand how the Advent of Code works. But I solved that with a simple for loop. I'm sure there are other possible solutions, but that's basically what I've done. Thank you very much for watching.